Thank you, Nina. Thanks for joining us today for Behind the Mask, delivering customer service in a socially distant post-pandemic world. Obviously, it's a very timely presentation today. Certainly, our summer season is upon us, and there's a huge emphasis on mask wearing. I think that's been documented to really help slow the spread of the COVID-19. But we still have businesses to run during all of this, as many of you on the call do. So we have to figure out a way to effectively run our businesses and work with our customers. So we're excited today to have Susan Adelizzi-Schmidt with us. Susan, I'm going to go through your very extensive resume and bio for 1 second, if you don't mind. So bear with me for a second. So Suasion Communications Group. Susan's the president of Suasion. She leads a team of creative professionals who execute award-winning branding, public relations, digital, and marketing campaigns. For the past 13 years, Susan and her team have positioned Suasion as a successful omni-channel boutique agency with offices located in Summers Point, which is her headquarters, and also Haddonfield. In 2020, Susan was honored with Reagan's Top Women in Communications Award. She is the recipient of Folio's Top Women in Media Award, recognizing women trailblazers, and the Philadelphia Business Journal's South Jersey Entrepreneur of the Year Award. In 2019, Suasion was honored with a prestigious PR Daily Bulldog Industry Award, along with the New Jersey Tourism Excellence Award. Under Susan's leadership, Suasion has been recognized with 8 NJTIA Tourism Excellence Awards and 5 HSMAI Awards. Sorry, I'm going to take a breath there, Susan. A lot of accomplishments there. Susan has been named to the prestigious Philadelphia Business Journal's top full-service marketing agency list for the past 3 years. Susan serves as a Stockton University School Business adjunct professor, where she inspires young minds with insightful real-world lessons. Additionally, she currently serves on the Downtown New Jersey and New Jersey Tourism Industry Association boards of directors. She is also a founding member and mentor in Stockton University Women's Leadership Council. Currently, Susan is a doctoral candidate organizational leadership at Stockton, where she also completed her Master of Business Administration. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Communications and English from Arcadia University. And with that, Susan, we're very excited to have you on today, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doug and Nina, and welcome everyone. Gonna wave to everyone. I know Joe Molyneux already did this. It's just so wonderful to see you all. So many of my friends are on here and colleagues, and it's always wonderful to see everyone. This is it's a networking opportunity as well as an informational opportunity. And we were chatting a little bit before everybody came on board. I was complimenting the Cape May County Chamber team, Nina, Doug, and John, I know is on, and of course, Vicki and everyone else. You've done a wonderful job of keeping us all informed, keeping us all connected, and we're very grateful for all of the work that you've done. I know you all have been working extra hard. I think we all have, but thank you for really stepping it up and creating these opportunities for us to still be able to see each other, still, be able to network, and of course, get all the latest and greatest information. All right, with that, I think that Nina is going to be facilitating the chat. If you have questions, we'll wait till the end. I was going to jump right into the presentation. If you have questions, though, please post them on the chat. And I believe Nina will be monitoring them, and we'll try to get to them at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to at least try to do that. Let's see if it works.
Yep, it's we can see it, Susan.
All right, thank you. All right, so of course, we're talking about customer service, and in the world of customer service, as with marketing, we've all had to do, the big pivot. And in marketing, there are 4 Ps: promotion, place, product, and price. And of course, now the 5th P is pivot. So we've all been doing that over the last few months, and we're going to be doing it, I think, now too with our customer service strategies. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And, it's really important to think about your customers and where have they been and what have they gone through. So some of the emotions that people have are, they're very scared still. Even the people who are kind of the fearless, and we're going to go through some of the types that are out there, there's still that one kernel of fear, I think, among every single person, that it's lurking somewhere out there. And you need to be mindful of that in terms of your customer service situation. And just realize that, there are people out there that have barely been touched by this. Maybe they've been a little bit inconvenienced because they weren't able to go to work or go to school or whatever. But then there are the other people that, on the other side of the scale, that have been tremendously devastated. So, just having that level of compassion based on, where people are in terms of their reaction to COVID and all the experience. It's a cocktail of emotions, as I wrote in my blog. Some people feeling fearful for months, others that are, kind of giddy. I know that I was when, some of the announcements first started happening and things started to open up. I was euphoric. It was like, oh, we can get out again. We can do stuff. And, and then, on another day, I may feel completely different. So it's just, kind of being mindful of all of these different emotions that might be happening. So just making sure that you can see my slides. Nina, are we good?
Yeah, Susan, we could see the slides. I wondered if you meant to put them into the full screen mode.
Okay. Can you see them now? Is that any better?
Yeah, but we can also see the tiles along the left side, and
Okay.
and that's fine if that's how you meant. But I just wondered if you had wanted to put it into slideshow.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that. Bear with me. If I
So there is a really quick way to do it, which is
Yeah.
in the little thin strip down the bottom of your screen. You'll see there you go. Perfect.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so just jumping into some of the tips that I have outlined, looking at your customers and thinking about, again, where they've been and now that they're starting to interact with you, they may not be the same people that they were before. We've all been changed by this in one way or another. It's changed our perspective, even if it's just for the short term. And everything here is fluid. So, even the tips that I'm giving you today, a couple months from now, it could be a completely different scenario. So it's just, again, pivoting and realizing that this is an ever-changing situation. So if you did a little research on your customers, I mean, you can do this yourself through surveys and whatnot, but there's some research online that you can also tap into. What I'm going to be referencing is from Accenture. This is readily available online if you wanted to look this up yourself, but I did include the link in my blog. So they did some research. Done some pretty good research on and consistently polling consumers and looking at consumer behavior. So and they've kind of pinpointed 5 different types of consumers, and I can break this down for you here on this slide. So the worrier. These mostly are seniors, although they could be other people as well. But these are the people that are, consistently concerned. They're not leaving their home. They're avoiding crowds. They're just, their eyes are peeled on the television screen. Maybe they're watching Governor Murphy every day in the afternoon to see what the latest and greatest is. Like, they are on this, and they don't want to engage with people yet because they don't want to take any chances. So take a look at whether or not you have a lot of these types of folks among your customer base, and then it's a matter of how do you pivot to try to cater to them. And then we have the individualist. I mean, this is a person that is, not afraid. They want their freedom. They think this whole thing is just a real nuisance. Obviously, this probably is mostly younger people. 18 to 24-year-olds. They feel like, they just have to have their essentials and they're good to go. And they're not letting the rules, and all of the issues and everything else, kind of impede their daily living situation because they desire freedom so much. And then there's a rationalist. So this is the person, I would actually put myself in this category. I follow the rules, I wear the mask, I'm following the guidelines, I'm doing everything I possibly can to make sure that I can still, live my life and run my business and, do everything that I want to do. But, I'm definitely following the guidelines and, pretty religious about wearing the mask everywhere I go. And then there's the activists. So these people, tend to, they're watching the rules very, very closely. I know a few of these people, and they want to make sure that everybody is adhering to every policy and every guideline. They also act to, they're trying to watch out for their communities. So there's definitely that activist piece of what they're doing. But they also, they're trying to change everyone's behavior, which is not an easy thing to do. So, that's another type of customer. And then lastly here, the indifferent. So these are the people that, they may think it's just a lot of hogwash. They think everything's fine. And maybe everything's been blown out of proportion. So these are just, a little bit of a rundown of types of customers that have been identified through these surveys. So I think Nina is actually going to be conducting a little bit of a poll here and asking you all about your customers and which ones you think that you have, mainly working with your business. It's important to identify who your customers are and kind of understand where they're coming from so you know how to best serve them.
Hey, Susan, the poll, I just need 1 second to get the poll going.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's giving me a little bit of trouble, so maybe we could come back to it.
Okay, sure thing. Just let me know
Thanks.
when you're ready. So in terms of dealing with your customers and understanding how to best work with them, really, it all starts with openly communicating with your staff, right? So that's first and foremost, taking the time to have open conversations, taking the time to understand kind of where they are in all of this. Again, I mean, some people have been tremendously affected, others maybe not so much. So, have those conversations and make sure that there's just an understanding between you as the business owner and or operator and your employees. So I think that really it bodes very well to be checking in with your employees if you're not all together. It's something that I've done, very regularly with my staff, and I think it's really important to, continue to have those types of, chatty conversations from time to time. It doesn't have to be every single day, but just checking in, like, hey, how you doing? How's everything going on your end? How's your family doing? And, obviously just having that banter that if you were, if you're apart that you wouldn't, that you would normally have, but you aren't able to have if you're apart, making sure that you have those conversations. So coming up with your guidelines, and this is, again, not a one size fits all approach. I'm going to, give you some tips on how to craft these guidelines. Obviously, checking to see what the guidelines are from the CDC. Pardon me, you can go to cdc.gov. You can also check out the New Jersey guidelines at covid19.nj.gov. These are guidelines that, you can decide and interpret as a business owner how you would like to implement them in your businesses. So, and there's a lot of room, there's a lot of gray area here. And, one business may be, doing it one way, another business may be doing it another. You have to decide as the business owner and operator, what makes the most sense for your business. But your staff absolutely has to understand, what's going on with those guidelines and, making sure that they understand, whether or not you're having that through through a sheet of your policies, written down for them, going through it one-on-one, or if you're having Zoom calls ahead of time, or if you're even, inviting them in to have group meetings, however you're doing it. But one thing I would definitely say with these guidelines is to make sure that you're checking in with your team once they get rolling, to make sure that they're doable and that you can implement them, or if you should be making tweaks along the way. But definitely making sure that they understand what the guidelines are and that they're able to implement them. Personally, what we've been doing here at my office is I have my set of guidelines, but I've been kind of working my team back in slowly. I keep checking in with them, probably a little bit of a nuisance, but keep checking in, are you okay? Are you okay wearing the mask? All of these things, making sure that they're getting fresh air, prompting them to take breaks, telling them to go outside if it's a nice day, get fresh air, that sort of thing. Just making sure that that people are okay with everything that you've laid down, and letting them know that they can kind of make changes if needed, but obviously checking in with you on those things. Scenarios, I think, are really important. So, making sure that your team understands the guidelines, but then, talking them through, role play, figure out what are the top 5 questions you think that are going to come up, going through those scenarios with your employees and staff ahead of time. What are they going to be allowed to do? Do they have to ask customers to leave the store? How are they going to enforce the rules? What happens if a customer gets nasty? These are all role play items that I think you need to kind of walk through with your staff before you open your doors, and even after you open yours, because I think a lot of you already have. Redoing this is not necessarily a bad idea either. It's not just a set it and forget it kind of thing. This situation is so fluid, as we all know. It changes daily. And I can remember 2 weeks ago thinking like, oh, this is all behind us now, right? We kept getting like openings after openings, and then all of a sudden it's like, states are going, they're not opening, and they're actually changing their policies. And now New Jersey's starting to, just the announcement yesterday from Governor Murphy that he doesn't expect any new announcements soon. So it's just changing constantly. So you have to constantly be looking at everything that you're doing in terms of communication with your team, and obviously with your customers as well. So removing fear and barriers, this is just so vitally important. So getting the word out to your customers, and allowing them to understand, how are you doing business with them? Now, it just depends on, how many customers you have. I mean, maybe it's a small base and you can call all these people and have personal conversations, which I would highly recommend. But then you want to reinforce all of your guidelines on your website. Take this omni-channel approach. Omni-channel just means every channel, okay? So every which way you possibly can get your message out, do it. So that's website, emails, digital marketing, social media marketing, phone calls, texting, and of course the in-store signage, your advertising. I mean, you just can't get it out there enough, in my opinion. You cannot over-communicate at this point. When it comes to all of these policies and how you're doing business, you're the owner, you're the operator, you're kind of making the house rules here based on the guidelines that have been given, how they're going to be interpreted, how they're going to be implemented. This, it's on a case-by-case basis. I'll give you a good case in point that I just, I was chatting with Vicki about this last week. So, boutiques opened, so you can go in and, try on clothes or whatever. So some of the stores that I've been into, they don't allow you to try on clothes, right? You just have to do it in the mirror and hope that it worked. I went into Macy's last week. All of their dressing rooms are open. There wasn't one. I actually went up to the clerk and said, can I try these clothes on? And they looked at me like I had two heads. Like, of course you can. The dressing rooms are all open. So, I mean, it just depends on the store, depends on the business, and how they interpreted the guidelines and how they're implementing them. And that's where I feel like, In-store signage, really important every step of the way. I feel like you couldn't have it out there enough. Just reminding people, yes, to wear the masks and everything else, but, what can they do and what can't they do in your business? Really, really important. So some other frequently asked questions, what are your hours? Obviously do have to wear a mask. Are you providing masks? All right. So that's a really important question too. I've walked into some stores, they have the mask, they have the gloves readily available as soon as you walk in, big welcome, that sort of thing. This really sets the tone for your brand. And is very important from a marketing standpoint. You have to think about how you want to handle this, and whether or not you want to make the investment and provide all of those materials for people. It's definitely a nice thing. If somebody they forgot their mask, they don't have it with them. And if you have it readily available, definitely a nice gesture to be able to offer that to them. All right, so these are some of the questions that I just went over. All right, and then telling them and showing them, right? So the visual aspect, we were waving at the beginning, with two hands. If you have a mask on, and that's kind of the premise of this this whole seminar, we can't see your mouth. And what do people do when they look at you? They look at your eyes first, right, to make sure that you're looking at them. And then what's the next thing they do? They look at your mouth, because there's a whole communication thing happening with your face and your mouth. And now, for many of you, that's blocked. So, thinking about how you want to, communicate with people, whether it's, the two-handed wave or, a big, welcome or whatever, these things are really important. So the visual cues, really do make a huge impact on people. I also want to mention too about FAQs, frequently asked questions. I love these. There's just like one of my favorite things for my clients. I recommend it all the time that they have a list of FAQs on their website. We've been doing a ton of this with my company where, for our clients, we've been making these FAQs. We've been making those pop-up windows on websites, so it has all the COVID-19 information readily available. People are going to your website, they're going to your social media, they're looking for this information. Make it easy for them. They shouldn't have to scroll and scroll and scroll and dig and, find it on the 15th page that they've looked at. To, put it right in front of them. Show them that you're thinking of them, that you want them back in your business and that you want to do business with them. They need this information. So, put it on your website again. Email, social media, you just couldn't get it out there enough, particularly if you're dealing with the tourism trades. I mean, it's just a new cast of customers every single week, or even every single day. So you have to keep, this information constantly in front of them. Okay, so demonstrating that you care is a really important thing when you're, when you're dealing with people in the store. So, making sure that you're enforcing the guidelines. I mean, this is one thing I feel like everybody's looking for. If we're saying that, the guidelines say you must have a mask, you're going to have people in your business, make sure that everybody is wearing the mask and wearing it properly, right? It's just it's a really important visual cue that people are looking for. Am I going to be safe in your environment? What are you doing to make sure that I'm safe? And all those little extra measures that you take, demonstrate that that you're going the extra mile, that you care deeply about your customers, and that, everyone on your team, is feeling, the same way about that. So another way to do it too is, just listening to your customers, right? They've got their stories to tell. They want to tell you, they haven't seen you, they love you. They, want to tell you where they've been, what they've been doing. They want to hear your side of the story too. Making sure that you're interacting and taking the time to, to hear what they have to say and what their journey, their COVID journey has been. Some surveys, are always easy to do. You can do that through a MailChimp. You can do that through social media. Just, trying to make as much conversation and, make it as friendly as possible. All right, so some questions that people might want to know. is, are all the products they're looking for on the shelves, right? If they come in. I just stopped by some stores over the weekend. There was nothing there, right? So I made a special trip. I didn't, it was just one of those things. I didn't call. I didn't do all the things that I'm recommending that you do, but I just walked in because I happened to be in a place, and, I was like, wow, where is everything? And, what had happened is they had a 50% off sale the week before. It was so all the stock was gone. And so my next question, of course, was, when are you getting some new shipments in? So, that's a really important question. If you know that you're, a lot of the supply chain was, prohibited in terms of deliveries and so forth. If you know you're getting big deliveries and they're coming soon, that might be, hey, that's a VIP, sale right there, that you could be offering to some of your customers, but, keeping them informed of all of these things. Can customers make returns? Not every, this is not a one size fits all situation either. Some people are going to want to be able to return things. Some policies are allowing that. Some businesses are not. And then of course, the whole online shopping thing. So you have, if we go back to the worriers and the people that don't want to come out to the store, but they still want to shop with you, and you made some provisions for them, maybe during, the height of COVID when we were all stuck at home. Think about what you're doing for them now, right? They may not be able to come and visit, or maybe they're too afraid to do it. Reaching out to those folks, making sure that they can still do business with you, and hopefully making some accommodations for them, so they can, continue to purchase from you. Really important. So how do you demonstrate your emotions when you have a mask on, because people can't see your beautiful smile? Those overwhelmingly nice greetings, the double waves, laser focused eye contact. I was out at an event last week. I had my mask on, and, people could see, I guess I could see the crinkles from my eyes because I was smiling a lot. But, I was saying, I can't show you my smile. And they're like, we know you're smiling. We know you're smiling because you can see it in your eyes. So make sure that energy and passion is coming through to people, even if they can't see it necessarily on your mouth. All right. So smiling with your eyes, your body language, right? Right now I'm leaning forward because I'm so trying to communicate this all with you. So that energy comes through. So making sure that it comes through, the air kisses, the air hugs. I've had people come up to me and approach me, consistently, the huggers. I'm a hugger. I'm a kisser. I mean, I'm Italian. We were talking about this before. I mean, this is who I am. So it's really strange for me to see a person that I haven't seen in so long and not want to go up to them and hug them, but I'm not doing that. Right. So, I'm letting them know I love you. I'm giving you the air hugs and giving you the air kisses, but, and again, this is me. So these are just some ideas that I have in my blog, but, I see Missy laughing over there because she knows. But I mean, the energy is important, right? And I think that's really what we're talking about here when you're trying to communicate through the mask, making sure that people get it. And, if you're one of those high touch people like me, you're going to find ways, even if you write a little note or whatever, right, to get the message across that you care and that, you really value the person, and that they mean a lot to you. So again, the little things make a great deal, mean a great deal to your customers. Having the masks, the gloves in store. I actually went shopping down in St. Michael's. Maryland had opened up way before New Jersey. St. Michael's is just one of my favorite little go-to spots for a quick getaway. And I wanted to see how they did it, doing a little R&D. And also, getting a little family time into. So one of the nicest things that I saw happening in St. Michael's, this was back around Memorial Day, was, the fact that every store owner was there, and they were extremely, welcoming, and they had signs, and they had, branded masks, and, all of this stuff readily available. Like, I felt so overwhelmed with love. Every store that I walked into, and that just made a tremendous difference and impact on me. While I was shopping, I feel like I lingered longer. There were stores, actually there's an amazing little Italian store in St. Michael's that I go to all the time. They actually had gloves available for everyone as they walked in, because they wanted people to be able to pick up stuff. Like they knew that people would probably have the inclination to do that. So they provided the gloves. So, these little welcoming items, not just the PPE, but, maybe there's some other little things that you can add to that fit with your brand, that might be a nice touch as well. So, again, looking at some of the motivation, figuring out why customers do business with you, right? They've had all this pent up energy and wanting to come in and see you. And particularly if you are in a tourism type business, I mean, this is, something they've been longing to do is, revisit you. It's, the summer of 2020 and they're, really wanting to get back. So, making sure that you understand, what it is about them emotionally that ties them to your business, and, kind of, playing to that. I also want to bring up the shop local aspect of things. Playing up that your business is local. Shop local is not something new. And of course the chambers, always talking about that, and we all are really. But I think now more than ever, shopping locally is, it's trending, it's popular. Mentioning in your marketing that you're a local business, that you employ local people. This is another big aspect. If you have several people that you're employing, all of this feeds into, we're all dependent upon each other. We're all, part of this economic ecosystem. And, particularly in Cape May County, because it is an area that isn't necessarily heavily populated, particularly in the non-summer months, we all are relying on each other in some way, shape, or form. So, mentioning that you're local, mentioning that you support local, for those of you, and I know there are many of you on this call that, you're very involved in the community. You want to be talking about these things all the time, locally based, employing locally, giving back to the community. I know there are many champions on this call that do that all the time, but I would pump that up even more. All right, and then celebrating the little things, right? I feel like, every little thing that happens is like a victory, and when it's a positive piece of news, just because we were inundated and stuck in our houses for so long in a very wet and soggy spring, on top of everything else that we were dealing with. So every little thing matters, right? Everything is everything. The old, song by Lauryn Hill. But it's so true. Like celebrating all those little wins. That it's great to see your customers, the good stories, the great customer encounters that you had. Reinforcing what the employees are doing well. Bringing your staff together, understanding, adapting, evolving, and how to deal with tough situations and so forth. And just having like that extra bit of empathy for your customers and certainly for your staff. If it's tough out there, it's tough wearing a mask all day. So just, being empathetic and, realizing that we're all in this together and we're all trying to do our best. And then the post-visit operations, the salutations, I talk a lot about this in my blog. That's a really important part of this too. Thanking people, going the extra mile. They came to your place of business. Remember the kernel of fear, it's still there, but they still came in anyway. Showing that extra bit of thanks, really, really important. So you can do that through, of course, your salutations while they're in the store, through text messages, through calls, social media, even surveys, just showing that you care and that you really appreciate their business and that you want them to come back. And again, times they're not done shifting, right? So this entire webinar is going to look different. It could look different in another month. It could look different in another few months for sure. But you have to, constantly be adjusting your strategies and looking at what's working and what's not working, and realize that, you have to keep adapting to this, and understand the frailty. Again, everybody's been through this situation. I remember hearing, like, right while it was all like in the height of it, like we're all, dealing with a bit of depression because we had our freedom taken away from us. Like, people are at different levels at this point. We've had a lot of things open up, but for those that can't get out so much, they still may be dealing with that bit of depression. So, it's important to be mindful of that. And when you're creating your statements, when you're creating your guidelines and everything, you just want to keep saying this is all subject to change because it's going to change, right? And another point I want to bring up is we are hopefully in a post-pandemic situation right now, which we really, we kind of went out on a limb to even say that because we're really kind of still involved in this in a big way. But, once this thing truly is behind us, things are going to get better. And I think, keeping that kind of future mindset that, we're going to get through this tough time, and we're going to get to that good place, and reinforcing that, consistently. I think, people need to hear good. The more good stories, the more happiness that you can be spreading. I think that's really important. So, and then leading with your heart, passion is what makes great businesses, small and large. Show compassion, care to your customers. Businesses that lead with their heart are always going to be the winners of the game. If you make your staff feel great, if you appreciate them, if you show the love to your customers, are going to return. And just making sure that they're safe. It's first and foremost safety. I've had that, I've heard my staff say this to me several times. We appreciate so much that you're putting our safety first. Safety comes before anything, right? You want healthy, happy people around you, and doing everything you can as an owner and operator. That's really important. So that's my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that it was helpful for you. Again, the blog that Nina, I believe, has already shared with you is, it was in an email that was sent out, the reminder email. She's also going to post it, I believe, in the chat. I also have another blog, which I'll invite you to take a look at, and that is marketing as well in a post-pandemic. I actually just presented this last week to the Atlantic City Public Relations Council. So all my blogs are available to you at suasionmarketing.com on my website. So check them out, and hopefully there's some good tips and information on there for you. So with that, Nina, I will send it back to you.
Okay, we will be happy to take anybody's questions. You can put them in the chat or raise your hand as we went over earlier, and I think Doug's going to come back into and help us moderate questions. So while we wait for folks to, type in anything that they are interested in, I had a question myself, because I think in talking to a lot of businesses in the area, one thing that's come up for them as a challenge is, a way to how can we maintain our customer service and customer experience, and keep everyone safe when there are some folks who are coming into businesses that are not wanting to wear the mask or to follow whatever mitigation protocols are in place, waiting 6 feet apart when they're waiting in line or something like that. So, Susan, do you have any tips on approaching those people in a way that can preserve their experience as well as everyone else's?
Sure. So, you're having people just walk in and they may not be on board with your guidelines. It's going to happen. Try to be as nice as you possibly can, and explaining that, this is for their safety as well as everyone else in the store or in the business. If they, if they absolutely will not, put the mask on, I think that honestly, it's fair for a business owner to, very nicely ask the person to leave. If there's an online component to your business and they're able to come in or be able to log in online and do business with you that way, or if there's some way that you can maybe walk outside with them and still serve them. There's ways around, in most cases, not in every case. Water parks come to mind. you can't enjoy a water park online, and you can't, you need a mask. So, if they don't follow the rules, that's the way it goes. But I feel like the water parks have really done a fabulous job of communicating. And if you go on the water park websites, you'll see, that they've put a lot of those guidelines out there. They're taking reservations. I mean, there's just things that they've done to ensure that, people understand the guidelines ahead of time. But yeah, it's a tough situation. And, those encounters are going to happen. There's, this even can get into a very, very heated political situation and so forth. So, obviously you're just trying to keep the business flowing, try to keep things, happening, and, dealing with each of these people on a case by case basis. But, it's trying to find what is the way that you can serve them. If they can't be served in your place of business without a mask, and that's the only way they want to be able to do business with you, just see if you can figure out an alternative, and have this script ready. This is what I was saying about the scenarios, Nina. Know that this is going to happen. It's going to happen. So how are you prepared for it? How have you trained your staff ahead of time to deal with that individual that is not going to comply with the guidelines?
Nina, I'm not seeing anything in the chat yet, but yeah, we encourage everyone, if you have a question for Susan, please type in the chat. Susan, I have a quick question myself on the surveys.
Yeah.
Maybe a little slippery slope, but best practice on asking our customers if, what do you suggest there? For instance, we survey our customers after they do business with us. Should we be asking if they felt like we provided a safe environment? I know that's a little bit of a slippery slope.
I think it's a good idea in your case. I know you've gone above and beyond to make sure that you've done that. So, I mean, I feel like you're in a very solid place. I always feel like the scale, the 1 to 5 scale, is always a good survey tool. And this gives people the opportunity to not only say where they are on the scale, least good to best, being 5, but then also allowing them to have the opportunity to comment. So you're getting kind of the raw feedback, and then if they want to give you more detailed commentary on a situation maybe they encountered or something, you have that window open on the survey, Doug, for comments as well. I think surveys, I love surveys. I think they're really important, especially now in business. If you can pre-survey your customers, just to get a feel for where they are and how you can best serve them, really important stuff. And this is, MailChimp is, it's essentially free, or it's very inexpensive if you want to use MailChimp to do this. Or if you want to just do it on your social media, it's also free. So these are, very easy tools to be able to implement to get information. I think the optic of it as well is really important, because it's showing that you care, right? That you're taking the time to get their feedback. I think that's a very important thing right now.
Great. Nina, do you see anything coming through on the chat? Oh, here we go. We have one. Should you take, that is a good one, actually. We've dealt with this. Should you take temperatures of customers?
Yeah, so this is recommended, and this is actually something I've had many discussions with, even with my own staff. So whether or not we're, I feel that in my office, it's very invasive for me to go around taking people's temperatures. But I am asking my staff to do that before they come in the office. And, it's on a case by case basis. Now, if you, like, my business is actually next to a dermatologist. And I can tell you, from a medical perspective, they're, making people wait in their cars. They are taking their temperatures. I think you need to tell people in advance if you're going to be doing this. And, obviously have a policy in place, figure out where's the line, right? So that's the question. Is it 100? Where do you draw the line to say we don't think you should walk into our business? Is it 98.6? Is it 98.8? Figure out where that is, and make sure that you have all of the guidelines readily available. I see a lot of people posting their guidelines right on their window when you walk in. I mean, if you are taking people's temperatures before they walk into the business, I would make sure that you have that on your website, on your social media, posted, even something maybe that you're handing out to them. so they understand, why you're doing it, and that you have, again, that temperature defined as to, if you do have that person that does have a fever, how does that get handled? I just want to circle back to the FAQs again, the frequently asked questions. So the reason why I'm such a champion of this, from a marketing standpoint, and put my marketing hat on for a minute, as well as a customer service trainer, is I feel like this is the first thing that people look at if you do any research on websites. FAQs is usually the most popular tab. And I feel like now that is true more than ever. It also helps, I don't get into a whole marketing discussion here, although I would love to, on search engine optimization and website visits and all of that. But if you have an FAQ tab, very easily identifiable on your website, and it has all of your guidelines, I just think that's something people are looking for. It's like the go-to place. So make sure that it's big and visible. And, I think it's also going to help with other aspects of your marketing as well.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I'm not seeing any more questions, so we'll do a kind of a last call for the chat.
I did have one thing, Doug, come through on Facebook, just someone making a comment about whether the governor can mandate mask wearing. I know that, I think we've all seen maybe in the news in the past couple of days that Governor Murphy is considering a mask mandate for any time you leave your house, which of course is a hot topic, and folks will feel different ways about that. I think if I understand it correctly, there already is a mandate for folks to be wearing masks when they're inside a place of business. So that's just something to keep in mind, and that maybe could be helpful for store business owners to be letting folks know that it's something that's coming from the state of New Jersey, and it's not necessarily their call.
Anything else, Susan? So we appreciate you taking the time today, and I don't want to hold anyone up on the cause. Anyone have any last final questions for Susan? Of course, they know how to connect with you, right, Susan, kind of offline if you have any additional questions.
Sure. If anyone would like to get in touch with me, I would love to chat with you some more. If you had any questions, maybe you didn't want to share on the chat and just wanted to talk to me privately about them, encourage everyone to get in touch with me. You can reach me. My phone number is 609-653-0400, extension 103. And my website is suasionmarketing.com. So would love to hear from you. Thank you all for joining in our conversation today. It was a lot of fun to see everyone and see your smiling faces. So I hope you all have an incredible summer 2020, and that we're just going to keep on chugging here, guys. It's all going to be good in the end. We just, again, have to pivot and, just have to pay especially close attention, to our staff and to each other, and of course to our customers. And I think we'll all be fine.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. As we were talking about before the call, we're in challenging times, and I think you have an extremely positive outlook on how we have some opportunities to take advantage of the situation. So again, thank you to everybody, especially thank you to Susan for hosting the call today. Nina wanted me to mention as well, these webinars were able to bring some sponsorship opportunities to our members and business community. So anyone who has an interest in sponsoring one of these great webinars that the Chamber has been able to put on, please contact John Kelly at the Chamber. The contact information is there. So we really appreciate the support from the business community, as I use Susan's word, as we pivot a bit to a new way of doing things. And obviously Zoom calls and webinars and the like, we need to keep our engagement with our members up. So sponsorship's a great way to allow and support our team behind the scenes. So please contact John for that. And I'm going to close as well. And Susan, again, thank you so much. And we'll be talking to you soon. And everyone have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.